visionary leaders build a life and business legacy on purpose through mindset, branding, marketing, sales, systems, and team so they can make an amazing impact and income and positively affect their communities worldwide. Ensure that you are sharing this show, you're subscribing, and you also are leaving us a review so we can create more amazing content around those areas to help you level up to the next level and also bring amazing guest experts that can share their knowledge and expertise with you so that you can create amazing legacy. All right, let's create amazing legacy. Welcome back to the Life School Masterclass show. Oh my gosh, it's a new season. It's September. I can't believe it. Summer is out of the way and now we're back to school, back to everything. So I'm so excited to be back with you with an amazing new season, and I can't be more than excited to introduce my today's guest to kick off this episode today, Molly Sider. And we will talk about how to get unstuck while you're at the phase and stage of midlife, right? What are some of the things that Molly will share with you that will really help you get unstuck and really reevaluate, I guess. I think we're always evolving as human beings, every phase and stage. We always need to reevaluate what is it that we're looking for? What do we want? We're all looking for fulfillment, for purpose, especially this audience. So, Molly, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited to have you here. And let's start with an introduction. How did you get to the work you're doing today? I have a feeling it's not coincidental.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so I got to do this work through my own life changes. I am a storyteller, and that was really where it all began, was getting up on stages and telling true personal narratives like the moth style, and understanding and realizing how important and how impactful it is to share a story with other people who are willing to listen and to create those connections, and how that creates a community, and it makes it's made me feel so much less alone in my thoughts and my own internal narratives, and unpacking that stuff has really been imperative to helping me figure out and get to the core of who I am as a person and how I want to show up to the world, um, and how I want to impact the world. And so that's a very, very short version of how I've gotten here.
Yeah, but I always see a common theme personally, and also all the guests that I get to have these amazing conversations with. That it's like we overcome something personally, and then we would like to expand the circle of influence and positive influence, and want to help other people. So that's kind of what I see with you as well. So I love that. So where do we start with as far as what you've seen with the majority of your work or with your clients? What are some of the common problems that I guess we experience as we feel stuck, purposeless, mindless, unhappy, unfulfilled, like all these feelings that I think show up when there's something new, breakthrough, something new to kind of come about. So what is it that you have seen mostly, Molly, for
Yeah, well,
share?
oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, but I think especially it's really common around midlife to feel sort of stuck, to feel like, oh no, like I'm at this age, and I didn't think I'm not where I thought I would be at this age. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. But, I thought I would be doing something grander, or I would be feeling more fulfilled, or I thought all the choices that I've made in my life up until this point would actually fulfill me more than I'm feeling, or maybe, it was fulfilling for a while, and now I'm feeling like I want to contribute more, and also I have no idea what that is, or even where to begin to figure that out. Or there are some people who have an idea, but then there's a lot of fear around letting go of the past and moving into the next chapter. So those are like a lot of the common themes. But even the people I work with who are like, I have this idea, I want to do this thing, it feels very good to me and very passionate. I feel very passionate around it. There's always internal narratives that are getting them stuck to how to make the next move, if the next move is really the one that they want to be making. and their why, and then how do you stick with it? And so it's like all of those things, and sometimes they're really small internal changes, and sometimes they're really big external changes. But they're all of those things are important, and making small, tiny, internal, incremental changes are is just as important and just as impactful often on our lives than making some like big, huge change. But if we don't stop to really think about where we are in our lives, the stories that we're telling ourselves about our place in the world, um, then it's really hard to move forward with intention and purpose. And if we're not doing that, then we're just kind of going through life blindly. So that's a lot of it.
I can so relate to the would have, I should be here, there, would have, should have, could have, all those,
Yeah.
all the things that we do to ourselves.
Oh yeah.
I think it's what you've seen from your work, that it's really our narrative, right? So it is definitely worth taking a stop and kind of doing a little analysis or getting the help of someone that could definitely help us with that. Because, I mean, who said we should be where, right? I mean, there's no
Right.
there's no blueprint. Everyone to each his own, but that comes from our own blind spots and
Yeah.
stories and fears and all the limitations that happen. So with this specific issue, based on the work that you are doing with your clients, do you have a system or process? Like, how do you help people figure out if they feel this? Because I think that's a big pain point for a lot of people. Where do we start to kind of unpack and unravel sort of where that's coming from, or why are we feeling that way?
Yeah. Well, you know, there I talk a lot about like sharing your story, which I really just mean talk about yourself and find somebody to talk to. And hopefully that's somebody who's professionally trained, like a therapist or a coach. But, if not somebody like that, then a really good friend who actually can listen without judgment or agenda is really important, because we all have stories that we tell ourselves, like all of these internal narratives, like, oh, I should be doing this, I'm shoulding yourself is based around a lot of shame. And then we hold these narratives inside because we worry and we fear that if we tell people, if we share that narrative, that like they'll confirm to us what we already believe to be true about ourselves, which is that we're bad, right? Or we're not lovable, we're not capable, we're not whatever, we're not worthy, we're lazy, whatever it is. But actually, that's just one perspective, right? That's just one perspective. And we go out into the world and we're wired to go out into the world and find proof that the story that we're telling ourselves is the right story. When in fact, it's just one of many perspectives. So when you actually are willing to talk about yourself a little bit, again, to somebody that you trust who could really hear what you're saying and reflect back to you a different perspective, um, that's how we get to the bottom of like, wait, how am I really feeling? And what do I really care about and value? And do I really think this way? Or am I just thinking this way because that's what society has told me to think? It's the only way to sort of get to the bottom of this stuff. So if you're feeling just kind of like icky, sometimes you just feel kind of like icky. It doesn't have to be like this terrible feeling, but if you're just feeling like, I don't know, just feel like kind of not content and just sort of icky, but I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe I just have to like go on vacation or something. Like, no. I mean, yes, vacation is great. Do that if you can afford it. But you go on vacation and the ickiness, the problems you have, the internal narratives are still going to be there. So, it's just really important to stop and realize like, okay, what is the story that I'm telling myself? Why is that important? Or, what is the thought? And then from that, like, what's the emotion that I'm feeling and why? And then, really picking the thoughts apart, creating some self-awareness as to why you do certain things that you do, why you've done certain things that you've done in the past, and how you'd rather show up next time. But you can only do that through this work. And a lot of people are like, "Well, I don't wanna talk about myself, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to share. That sounds scary to me." And by the way, I get up on stages and do this, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm not telling you to do that unless that sounds like fun to you. Um, but like a really, really powerful, maybe one of the most important parts of sharing and doing this work is actually listening to other people share their stories. Listening is so important. It still creates that connection and that community, and it makes everybody feel less alone, you know? If I don't have somebody to listen to me, then sharing doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So listening to other people is really a great place to start because it'll start the wheels turning and it'll be like, okay, I don't connect to that at all. Or like, oh, wow, I feel the same way that person feels. Okay, A, I'm not alone. B, like now I'm recognizing and I'm realizing that this is actually a thought that's in, that's in my mind and that's taking up space and energy. And by the way, we spend so much energy hiding those internal narratives, right? Hiding the shame around them. We spend so much energy showing up to the world with a smile on our face and how we feel like we're supposed to show up to the world when maybe what we're really feeling is something very different. And that's a lot of energy spent. And if we start to free that energy up, we can actually redirect that and use that towards the things that we actually really truly value and care about, not what we've been told to value and care about. So this work is so important, and it applies to not just individuals, but also organizations, companies. You know, all of this stuff.
Mhm.
It's applicable.
I love your passion. It is so injectable. What's the right word, right? But I love what you said with the aspect of the escape factor, because I think we all can relate to when we have uncomfortable feelings such as these, right? Which are really a good signal to take a look at.
Hmm.
Sometimes we need to take a look at internally. We tend to escape, like I need vacation. Let me go buy something. For a lot of
Yeah.
people, retail therapy is a
Yeah.
therapy, right? So all this escape that we do really, doesn't help us long term, and not to mention all the negative consequences that it has. So either way,
Yeah.
doing this inner work is going to help you trifold in everything else that we do: business,
Mhm.
financial, family, all the other areas that we're looking for to really get that fulfillment out of. But Molly, what is it about midlife? Is it the number? Or I know this could probably show up. It showed up for me in different phases.
Mhm.
But what is it about midlife that you've seen is like, why is that like a crisis? I don't know. It just, the pain is more, it's for most people, that's kind of like a thing that.
Yeah. I think it's a big answer, and from the work that I've done, you know, what I've learned is midlife. I mean, first of all, the reason I picked it is because I was turning 40 and I was like, and shoot, like, did I miss my opportunity? And this isn't what I thought this was going to be. And I was kind of freaking out. Ageism plays a a huge role in this. I do a little. I've had some people on my podcast who are very big in the ageism community and conversation. So I've learned a lot. Um, there's this thing called the U curve of happiness, and it basically is scientifically backed, where it's proof that most people, and this also assuming that you're financially stable, are most happy in the beginning and the ends of their lives, and the hardest part are people in midlife. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but it can be anything from um having children and being, a lot of people in midlife have children and have a family and are focused, and rightfully so much on providing for the family, that you are able to sort of, first of all, it's a lot of stress and it's very scary. And you're so hyper focused on providing for other people that it's easy to lose yourself. Who are you? What is your actual identity? What do you care about in this world? Um, and we're very hyper focused, like, on this, time of our lives. When in reality, if you pan out, it's so much easier to realize, like, oh, this is just a moment in our hopefully long journey. There are also lots of changes that happen in midlife, like the way that we look and our bodies, and um, you know, there's a thought in society that we're supposed to be at a certain, like, financial level or salary level at a certain age. Like all of these things, um, add to the stress and the anxiety of being this age. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. So many factors. And I love that you articulated that. And I think everybody can really relate to at
yeah,
least two of those. I love that you said the messy middle because it reminds me of personal growth, right? There's the middle is always messy.
yeah,
But again, it's like living life with no regrets. I think that's kind of the whole purpose. And a lot of people are realizing that. You want to take chances, you want to do your inner work and really go after that calling or the purpose that we all might feel at different points in time, phases and stages of life. But yeah, I mean, the all the challenges that come towards us are really just points in our journey to really give us new information about ourselves and really find more of the clarity within us that we need at that stage and phase.
yeah.
Molly, based on your framework or methodology, how is it that you give your clients transformations around this area?
I'm really, you know, a big support and sort of a safe space. What I'm really good at is pulling out information from people and in people's stories and helping them make meaning of it and see it and reflect it back in a different way, and use that to move forward. You have to be able to make sense of past experiences if you want to then make new choices and decisions on how you want to show up in the future. And so it's really about like sort of narrative coaching and storytelling that helps get to that place where you're like, okay, this is how I've done it in the past. And I don't regret that because I learned. I like to call everything my learning journey or your learning journey. Everything we do is just information. We're just gathering information. And then you take that information and you make changes accordingly. So, what I do with my clients is help to get to the bottom of like, well, why did you show up that way? What do you like about the way you showed up? And what don't you like about the way that you showed up? And how would you like to do it next time? What might next time look like? And who are you? Who do you want to be? I talk a lot about identity. And oftentimes, in fact, on my podcast, I ask everybody who comes into my podcast to introduce themselves, their name, their age, and however they want to introduce themselves. And almost everybody does introduces themselves as like, I'm so and so, and I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a mom, I'm a, whatever, I'm a teacher, whatever. And at the end, I ask them to reintroduce themselves without using those descriptors, because we are not our successes, we are not our failures, we are not our titles, our experiences, our hobbies. Those are not who we are. We are why we want to do those things and how we respond to those things. And so for me, for example, I'm curious and vulnerable and kind and honest, and empathetic and funny sometimes. And so any sort of situation, any sort of conflict, anything that I'm, sort of anxious or worried about facing, I'm like, okay, well, how do I want to show up in this moment? And it's always the same. I want to be vulnerable and I want to be kind and honest and curious. My big thing is curiosity. Okay, what does that look like in this situation? Okay, well, that looks like X, Y, and Z because of, this specific circumstance. So I go over a lot of that stuff with my clients. And slowly over time, you get to like create such a deep awareness of who you are and how you want to show up every day, so that all of a sudden your values start to align, right? Because we can have a list of like aspirational values that we're not actually living day to day, which is great. A lot of us, everybody has some of those, right? I do too. But I can look at my list of aspirational values and I can tell you honestly that every single day, the choices that I make, the decisions I make in my life and how I want to show up are based on those values. And I don't always get it right, but it's always based around those things, so that I can go to sleep every single night knowing I did the best that I could. And sometimes I'm going to screw it up. But even when I screw it up, I'm coming back to like, okay, well, be curious about how you screwed up. How do you want to do it better next time? So, and I'm kind to myself about that. I'm curious about it. I'm not judgmental. Or if I'm judgmental, I'm like, oh, look at me, I'm being judgmental. That's interesting. And I get curious about it. So it's always about getting more and more closer in alignment to your actual values. Because when you're living your actual values, everything is easier and more fun and more purposeful and intentional and happier.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, your work is foundational because you
Yeah.
take people through to the core of their values, and identity work is important as well. Because
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I mean, we all resonate with our titles, our roles. However, that's from the outside,
Yeah.
right? But who are we as a person? And we want to be loved for who we are, not for all the stuff we do.
That's right.
So
That's
I
right.
think that's wow, powerful stuff there, Molly.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, Molly, I really appreciate all the information you share with us so far. Great stuff for sure. I think we'll continue the conversation maybe on future episodes. But for
Okay.
now, I would love to end it with people continuing this conversation with you. Where is it they can find you? I know you have your podcast. Tell us a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, so the podcast is called I Am This Age, and it's interviews with people who have made big life changes after the age of 40. So the tagline is proof it's never too late, you're never too old. So go do that thing you're always talking about. But the through line of all these conversations are, I like to get into the details of people's stories because that's the fun part. But what's the really effective part and like the juicy bits are the fears, the insecurities, the thoughts that go around that happen around making the change and how you navigate through those because those are so similar with everyone. It doesn't matter what everyone's story is. Like, I like to say that we're unique in the details of our story and not so unique in like our emotions and thoughts. Anyway,
Exactly. Human experience is very, very similar.
really similar. So that's the podcast. And you can listen to that anywhere you get your podcasts or go to iamthisage.com. Um, And then you can find me at mollycider.com. It's like apple cider, but with an S instead of a C. So SIDER. And that's a little bit more about me. And you can schedule little discovery calls and stuff like that. And you can find me on Instagram. I'm Molly at this age. DM me, email me,
All right.
any of the above.
There you have it. Well, here's the website somewhere here, right down there
Oh,
on
there is. Yeah.
the screen. You guys know where to continue the conversation with Molly, and definitely do so. You do amazing work. I love your mission. I think it's,
Thanks.
personal transformation is always where the magic is. Everything else that we want to achieve, whatever success, hopefully for the right reasons, we're doing the deep why. So why we want to do something.
Yeah.
It starts with that. That's at the core of everything. So much success to you, and looking forward to maybe having you on our future shows. Thank you so much again for all this beautiful conversation. And you guys know what to do. You'll find this podcast really all over our social media channels and also on the Spotify and the Apple iTunes app. So thank you so much for tuning in. Looking forward to bringing you amazing guests and conversations throughout this season. Thanks again. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
I am offering a free 30-minute discovery strategy business growth call for you in order to help you discover the foundational gaps that you might have between your book publishing, branding, marketing, sales, systems, and team so that you can make more impact and income in your business this year. Even if you decide not to receive the further support that I could provide for you, you will still walk away with amazing wisdom and value from my 20-year experience in helping entrepreneurs and growing my own successful business in what are some of the gaps that you are experiencing and how to connect those gaps with your ultimate business and life vision. Schedule a call now as my calendar gets booked very fast so that you could take advantage of this 30-minute opportunity to have a personalized chat together.